This is part 3 of my Tekno EB48 SL build series. And at the end of the previous series, I had mentioned I was going to wait until finishing the front suspension assembly before making the next video, but I actually have a few comments right now after going through the next one or two steps that I want to mention before I forget them. The first thing is I had forgotten to mention in the last video that for the inner hinge pins, you do have to bore out the inside holes of the suspension arms, both front and rear. It says to use a 4mm reamer. I just took a Dremel with a drill bit and just bored it out iteratively until I got a nice fit. It doesn't have to be a loose fit, but the suspension arm does need to, be able to move reasonably freely along the hinge pin. As with the arm as it comes out of the box, it will slot nicely into one or the other of the holes, but when you try to slot it all the way through with the hinge pin, it does bind up, so you have to bore it out. Only on the inside, though. The outside hinge pin hole is fine. So after assembling all of that, you put together the rear universals and the wheel hub, and then the rear camber link turnbuckle, and you mount everything. The universal goes together just fine. There's no issue there. One nice little touch that they have for this is basically you put the universal in, and then there's a drive pin that you slot through in here that connects the wheel hub to the wheel axle, and then you put in a grub screw or set screw in here, and it sets against that pin. It presses it down. That pin is already pre-slotted, so there's a little flat spot on there to help the set screw hold the pin in place. It's already done for you, so you don't have to grind it out with a Dremel. So that's a pretty nice touch there. As for the rear camber link, one positive and one negative about it. I'll get the bad news out of the way first. This camber link is made of steel. It's not made of titanium, and it's a relatively small diameter. It does seem a little bit flimsy for a chassis of this type. This is basically a 1/8 scale chassis. So I'm quite surprised that the hinge pins are this relatively small. I mean, I still need to use my 4-wheel drive short course turnbuckle wrench to adjust this. You can't use a standard 10 scale Lunchford wrench. But on my SC10 4x4, the turnbuckles, at least they felt beefier than what you get here. The other problem is actually threading on the ball cups on either side is a real pain in the butt. Just to get the thread started, you really have to press down hard onto the ball cup to just get it to start threading into the turnbuckle. And then, then it'll start going, but it's a real pain just to get that thread started on either side. So that's the bad news. That's probably the first complaint I have about this build is that part. What is kind of interesting is the tuning options you get for the rear suspension geometry. So on the inside mount, you have 6 options. So there's 3 roll center options and then 2 camber gain options. So it's a 3x2 matrix. And on the outside, you get your standard 3 camber gain options on the hub carrier that you would get on most buggy hub carriers. And what's kind of interesting is that this ball stud is a straight ball stud, and this ball stud is a curved ball stud. It curves up. So the manual tells you to set this turnbuckle up so that this ball stud curves up going to the outside. So what that basically means is the roll center will be higher when you curve that ball stud up. And instead of molding in another set of holes that are above or below these holes on the rear hub carrier, all you really have to do is take this guy and flip it upside down to make it curve down if you want to reduce the roll center. So it's kind of neat. So if you want to have your most extreme adjustment of, say, low roll center, it's actually the way it's set up right now. So with the, actually, let me make sure I got this right. No, sorry. With the inner camber link mounting point furthest down, that would increase the roll center. And then this actually reduces it a little bit with, with this ball cup kind of mounting with an upward slant to it. And yeah, so that's kind of neat. So you can play games on either side, basically, with how you adjust roll center. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, so that's where it is right now. I just want to get out of the way that the pain it is to actually put this turnbuckle together. It's not that great, but the tuning options are pretty cool. There's plenty of them. And yeah, so after this, then I can start doing the front gearbox, which I will get to. I suspect I'll have the same, comments and complaints for the front because it's largely the same assembly. So I'll put that together and make another video. So in the meantime, thanks for watching.